Hello, hello, fathers of daughters. This is Ephraim B. Martin, and welcome to another live stream. Hope you're doing good today, and I welcome you. All fathers are welcome from all backgrounds and from all cultures. Okay, fathers. So today's live stream is live stream number 30. What we are going to be discussing today, fathers, is actually for parents. We're going to be discussing female sexual predators. Okay. And the reason why we're going to be discussing female sexual predators today is because there's more and more women who are teachers and are being arrested for sexually assaulting little boys. I don't have any sons. I'm a girl dad. But it's just as important for parents to be aware of female sexual predators as it is male sexual predators. I'm a former state of Colorado juvenile probation officer. And at one point, when I was a probation officer, I actually had to supervise juvenile sexual offenders before our department, our probation department, ended up assigning 2 juvenile probation officers just to have a sexual predator caseload, juvenile sexual predator caseload. So I probably supervised juvenile sexual offenders for about a year and a half as a probation officer before they created a caseload specifically for them. So I want to discuss this, parents, and the information that I'm going to be sharing with you today is Grow Dad YouTube channel. What we do here is we're all about information and education for fathers of daughters. That's what I do. That's how I get down. And I think it's very, very important, specifically when we're talking about the criminal justice system, for parents to be aware of the potential of what could happen to their sons and their daughters in the primary grades, middle school, and high school. So that's what I decided to do as far as a live stream today. It's been on my heart actually for a while. And I just think it's important for parents to have as much information as they can to be able to make informed decisions, to be able to speak with their children, their sons and their daughters, because this happens to little boys and little girls. So I have a few videos that I want to share today with you, parents and fathers, parents. If you're watching me live today, feel free to comment. I would love to hear your feedback. And I would just love to be able to share the information. All videos are fair use videos. They are all in the description, and they're all provided by YouTube. Okay, parents? So with that being said, let's take a look at this first video of female sexual predators.
Teacher is arrested for an alleged sexual relationship with a student. It's just one of many cases we've covered in recent weeks, highlighting a disturbing pattern emerging across the nation. This time, we're headed to Charlotte, North Carolina, where 26-year-old biology teacher Gabriella Neufeld is accused of having sex with an 18-year-old student. These accusations all came to light on Wednesday. According to court docs, Neufeld engaged in intercourse or a sexual act at least 5 times since October 18th. While the interactions didn't happen at school, they allegedly happened with an 18-year-old male student. After an interview with police, Neufeld was arrested and booked into the Mecklenburg County Detention Center. She was later released based on $75,000 bond. This power dynamic is one we've covered extensively at Law and Crime Network, as handfuls of similar cases have made the headlines since the start of the school year. But experts like forensic psychologist Dr. John Delatorre say this shocking pattern has existed for years.
In the 90s, 80s, and 70s, early on, all of these things were happening. These things have been happening since there was a teacher and there was a student, right? So from the beginning of time, abuses like this have been occurring, but the technology wasn't there to engage in these kinds of things. And so current, like in contemporary times, having an online relationship and having an offline relationship are almost the same thing. And so you can engage in these kinds of sex acts, sexual texts, videos, images being sent to one another.
He says the inappropriate relationships start normally with a student teacher dynamic. It's a gradual shift into something much darker.
It is a pretty big jump, and it's a jump that actually happens over time, right? It's not one single jump. It's one little tiny little hop from one step to the next. Now, remember, some individuals actually do get sexual gratification from engaging in this behavior. So part of the thought process is also coupled with a physical gratification that the person is receiving from engaging in this behavior. It's also psychological in that they're getting attention from the victim. So there's a lot of dynamics that are at play when it comes to convincing the person that what they are doing is the right thing. They always know that it's wrong. They've always known, and they always will know that the behavior is wrong. They just don't care anymore.
And it's that careless nature that we've seen much of in recent months. We've covered the story of Peyton Shires, the 24-year-old social worker now accused of having sex with a boy she'd been assigned to counsel. Authorities in Ohio say Shires recorded videos of herself having sex with a boy. Investigators found that evidence on the boy's phone, and Shires admitted to the relationship while she was on the phone with his mom. At the same time, police were listening in. She's now charged with unlawful sexual contact with a minor. In the case of Ricky Lynn Laughlin, it's attempted rape that put the one-time Missouri teacher in the headlines. Investigators say she invited a 16-year-old student to have sex with her while her husband was out of the home. In Pennsylvania, school counselor Kelly Ann Shute was accused of preying on a 14-year-old boy in his bedroom after his parents left the house. Investigators say the pair had inappropriate relations several times, including in her SUV and her home. California teacher Michelle Solis is accused of having a sexual relationship with a former student and sending explicit photos. 27-year-old Emily Swinkowski resigned from her teaching job in Missouri after explicit photos she took made the rounds between students. She's also accused of sexual assault, as is Cassidy Krause of Iowa, who allegedly sent explicit photos and had sexual relations with 3 boys ages 13 and 14. Then there's the case of Alyssa McCommon, a Tennessee teacher who's allegedly pregnant with her former student's child. Just this week, McCommon's bond was revoked following her second arrest. She faces charges of rape, coercion of a witness, aggravated stalking, and harassment. She was arrested in early September for allegedly raping a boy in her own home. She was released on bond, but arrested again when she allegedly reached out to the victim after her release, saying she was pregnant with his child. At a hearing this week, a judge ruled McCommon will remain in jail as she awaits trial. It's the disturbing nature of these cases that continues to generate interest. So we're taking a closer look now at the most recent one, Gabriella Neufeld. So to make sense of the case so far, we're joined now by law and crime legal analyst Julie Rendelman. Julie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so what struck me about this case, and is what separates it from so many of the others like it, is that the student in this one is 18 years old, so a legal adult, but Neufeld was still arrested and charged. Can you explain that?
Sure. So what we've typically been seeing is where a teacher engages in some type of sexual activity with a student that's also underage. This is unique because the student is 18 years old, and so he is of age. However, the law is quite clear in North Carolina. And in this case, the crime is called sexual activity with a student. And what that says is that an individual who is a teacher who is over 4 years, who is 4 years older than their student, which in this case, the victim was 18, and the teacher was, I believe, 26 years of age. Um, the law prohibits any type of sexual activity between the two.
She now faces 5 counts of felony sexual activity with a student by a teacher, that charge that you just explained. But is that different than rape? Is it less severe?
It is less severe. It's still a felony. They classify it in that state as a G felony. The difference is the amount of time an individual can get if, in fact, they're found guilty. In a case such as this, the defendant is potentially looking at up to 47 months, whereas in the typical cases we would see, you would have an expectation that the potential for imprisonment is much higher.
It sounds like a lot of this case is going to rely on what this 18-year-old student has to say. Would you say that he would need to testify?
You would expect that he will. Now, keep in mind, there might be outcry witnesses, individuals that he told what happened. There might be witnesses. We expect that when an individual is raped, that it's done in a private location, but you never know what the evidence is going to yield. There may be, which we don't know yet, there might be texts, there might be videos, there might be emails that don't require him to necessarily testify. Keep in mind that no matter what his age is, if it's a student and it's a teacher, and there is an age difference between at least 4 years, consent is irrelevant to this charge.
What happens if this 18-year-old is not cooperative and he doesn't want to testify at all? I know that you mentioned he doesn't necessarily need to, but do prosecutors need his cooperation to move forward?
I think anytime you have a case, particularly where it's involving two individuals, it is important for the prosecution to have the victim on board. That doesn't always mean they're always on board. Can the prosecution go forward without that person? Well, they can certainly subpoena them to testify and require them to, or they can potentially see if there's other evidence besides what the victim would have to say that can support any type of charge against the teacher regarding what happened with this student.
Now, from the prosecution over to the defense side, if we're looking at the defendant in this case, Gabriella Neufeld, what could her defense look like? How would she combat these 5 charges?
So it's so early on in the stage, at least from the knowledge we have. So we don't know how strong their case is. We don't know if the victim is cooperating. We don't know if someone else came forward to say what happens, and the victim's like, I don't want to be involved. And so from the defense perspective, of course, their best position would be if the victim does not want to cooperate. Their best position would be if there are no texts, there are no emails. And if the texts are potentially innocuous, they might argue that this was just a flirtation and this was nothing more than that and didn't rise to the level of a felony.
Could it be in Neufeld's best interest to take a plea deal rather than go to trial with this case?
So, Sarah, it's so early to even think about that. And again, we don't know what the defense knows. And quite frankly, the defense may not know what the prosecution knows right now. So it's so early in the arrest. It's so early in the investigation. Obviously, when someone decides if they're going to take a plea, the reason they take a plea is if they think that what's being offered is better if they were to go to trial and lose. So I think it's going to take a bit of time and really for the defense to see how strong the evidence is, and also if there's any mitigation. Does the defendant have mental health issues? Are there anything that would somehow lessen the blow of quite frankly, what many consider quite a horrific crime?
And we're talking about how recently this investigation began. It was just this week that these allegations came to light and that Neufeld had this interview with police. So I'm wondering, as the investigation moves forward, we're not even a week out. Is it possible that investigators will go back and look at her relationship with other students and that others may come forward?
Anytime you have any type of sex crime, whether it be student to teacher or any other scenario, the police are going to be looking not just at the relationship between those two, but the relationship between the teacher and any other potential students that may raise some red flags. So certainly they're going to want to do that in this case. Look, anytime a teacher has a relationship like this with the student, boundaries have clearly been crossed. And if they're willing to do it once, they potentially are willing to do it multiple times.
In this case, we know that bond was set at $75,000. Do you think that that's an appropriate amount?
Anytime bail or bond is set, the judge has many factors to consider, and one of them is the flight risk of the individual. And so, this is an individual who I believe was part of the community. She's presumed innocent at this stage. And so I don't think it's unusual for an individual who is a member of the community, who has ties to the community, and has no real basis or belief on the part of the judge that they're going to flee, that they're going to set an amount that would guarantee they return to court, but not require them to remain incarcerated.
Julie Rendelman, thank you as always for joining us and bringing us more information about this case.
Thank you for having me, Sarah.
We will continue to cover Neufeld's case as it moves forward in legal proceedings, bringing you the latest updates in this and all other cases like it. Reporting for Law and Crime Network, I'm Sierra Gillespie.
A disturbing test.
Okay, fathers. Okay, parents. What are your thoughts on that first video? I have two more that I'd like to share with you from psychologists speaking on behalf or giving their analysis of female sexual predators. I can tell you when I was a state juvenile probation officer with the state of Colorado, when I supervised the juvenile sexual offenders for the year and a half that I supervised them, I supervised about 4 or 5. If my memory serves me correct, I want to say 5 little boys. I've never met a little girl that was a female juvenile sexual offender. I've never met any. I'm sure they're out there, but I've never met any. And I can tell you also, with the adult probation officers that I spoke with quite frequently, there was one in particular. He had 6 women on his caseload, and you're allowed to share information when you're a juvenile probation officer. So I always read the pre-sentence investigation reports on the female sexual offenders because I was supervising male juvenile sexual offenders. And the pre-sentence investigation reports are given by the convicted adults, female predators. And it's just real interesting when you look at their history as far as, where they come from, their educational background. The ones I remember when I read their pre-sentence investigation reports, they were very educated, bachelor's degrees and master's degrees. I don't remember them being in other professions other than the teaching profession, which was interesting. They were all teachers. And that's how they got caught, right? So it just appears that the teaching profession it's very, I'm not going to say there's more female sexual predators in the teaching profession. It appears that way. And I haven't looked at any studies lately as to why, but you have access to kids, and a lot of these teachers, I mean, you're seeing them from all socioeconomic backgrounds, from all ages. Some are in their 20s, some are in their 30s, some are in their 40s. So it's something that parents, you need to be speaking with your kids about their teachers, and you need to be knowing who the teachers are at the school, and don't be leaving your kids alone with teachers at school. And there has to be a level, there always has to be a level of conviction when it comes to parents, I believe. And I had a totally different take because I was a former state juvenile probation officer. So although I was very protective of my daughters, I was very reality based with my daughters as well. And, we had sex offenders living in our community where my daughters were being raised with their mother and myself. And, a lot of people are like, well, we don't want sex offenders in our communities. Well, one thing I learned about working in the criminal justice system, it's better to know where the sex offenders are versus not knowing where they are. And if they're living in your communities, it's best that you know where they're living, right? Not to harass them or anything like that, but it's better to know who adult sex offenders are, because at least when you know where they are, they can be isolated. And that's the reality. A lot of parents don't understand that. And specifically with a lot of these sex offenders, once they serve their time through the court system, they're allowed to live in communities. They can't live by any schools and things like that, but they're allowed to live in communities that are specific according to their probation officers and their parole officers. Some are on probation, some are on parole. I can tell you, all the juvenile sex offender little boys that I supervised, each one of them had been sexually assaulted by a family friend or a family member who was close to them. So, it's crazy. That's all I can tell you. It gets crazy. And I just hope that parents are just being very diligent when it comes to their kids, because we trust. We send our kids to school. We're trusting the schools. We're trusting the school districts. We're trusting teachers. But you have to be speaking with your children as well, and understanding exactly what's going on with them on a daily basis. I spoke to my daughters all the time, every day. I spent a lot of time at their elementary schools and their middle schools. In previous videos, I've said once my daughters got to high school, I fell back because they had the structure, kindergarten through 8th grade. So once they got to 9th grade, I was able to fall back, and they handled their business when they got to high school. I never had to go to high school for any of my daughters. They weren't disciplinary problems. There weren't any disciplinary issues. So parents, you just have to be paying attention. That's the most important thing in speaking with your children. This is not something to be freaking out about. You just have to be aware. And female predators, they're out there, and they're going to continue to get exposed, and they're going to continue to be arrested in the criminal justice system, and they're going to continue to be convicted. That's just what it is. So parents, I'd love to hear your feedback though. And in every video, I pretty much state, make sure you do your homework, do your research. And it's better to be informed than not to be informed. And like I said, all videos are fair use videos. They're all in the description. And feel free, parents. But you have to be on top of this, because any of our children can be subject to predators, male or female. Okay. Let me get this next video. Let's see here. Give me a second, parent. I'm getting ready to, I'm going to upload this next video here. And these next two videos are coming from psychologists. One's a male psychologist and one's a female psychologist. Both have interesting takes, interesting views on female sexual predators. So let me get this together, y'all. Okay. See, no, that's not it. Give me a second, parents. Give me 1 second. Okay, so
It's a crime.
okay. Let's see. I'm getting better at this technology. I am. Okay, there we go. That's the one I want.
A teacher to have sex with a child.
Here we go, parents.
We're seeing more women who are being arrested for these crimes. In the past, women were not arrested. It may very well be that this has been going on for a much longer period of time, but now that we're arresting the women, we're seeing this phenomenon. These are women who are married. These are women who are dating. These are women who have children. These are women who may have been divorced, and they are trying to recreate something in their mind to bring them back to a childhood situation where they had their first sexual arousal and emotional arousal. Especially younger teachers who may be just 23 and may see the high school relationships with her students as not very different from what she had when she was trying to date and find passion in relationships. And often the boundary then gets lost between the teacher and the student. But you do have the authority of the teacher over the student. It's a very powerful one. The child may look adult, they may have fully developed genitals, but they are not equipped to deal emotionally with the relationship of falling in love or falling into sex with a teacher. All of the teachers I have been involved with in my practice, their marriages ended. The children took sides, and people treated the teacher as a monster. Many of them get hospitalized psychiatrically or put on heavy medication. Many of these teachers are good teachers, and they're never going to practice again, and they have to give up their license to practice. It's horrible what people can do when a lust relationship becomes associated with attachment.
Okay, parents, that was the first video by a psychologist. What do you think about his explanation of why women become sexual predators? I've watched a lot of different videos on male sexual predators versus women sexual predators, and the takes on them are pretty contrast when it comes to male sexual predators and female sexual predators. I find it interesting how a lot of the times when we're talking about female sexual predators, mental health always comes up. And just the contrast between male and female predators is it's just very interesting for me, because being a part of the criminal justice system for the 20 years that I worked in it, and just seeing what I saw and what I was exposed to as a state juvenile probation officer, just a lot of times it just really numbed me, specifically what was happening to these little boys and these little girls by predators, male and female. And like I said, once I read their pre-sentence investigation reports, looked at their histories, it was crazy on why they offended. And like I said, most of the little boys I supervised, not most, all of them, they had been sexually assaulted at one point in their childhood. And these little boys, they were 12, 13, 14 years of age. I didn't have a little boy that was a sex offender over 15. So they were 12, 13, and 14 years old. And most of the little boys had perpetrated on their sisters or a female cousin. So the discussions that have to take place within families, among siblings, with overnights and things of that nature. I mean, you can't tell parents how to raise their kids. That's not my job. That's not my position. And parents are going to do what they're going to do with their children. They are. My daughters were very close with their first cousins. And we always made sure that our daughters were protected and they were safe. So, it's a slippery slope, parents. Whether it's you're leaving them with family members or not, you're taking a risk each and every time. And families don't want to talk about it. They really don't, because this is what I've learned when I worked in the criminal justice system. Most little boys, when I read their pre-sentence investigation reports, there was an adult that knew when they were being sexually assaulted by a family member. Adults in the immediate family, they knew. And nothing was done, which is crazy to me. It's just absolutely crazy to me. And I just, a lot of times when I was reading these reports, I had to shake my head. So I'm like, not my kids, man. That's not going to happen. If my kids are touched inappropriately, y'all going to have to lock me up for real, because I'm going for the adult that did it. And then when you have children perpetrating on other kids, that's a whole different arena. Because like I said, 12, 13, 14-year-old little boys that had been perpetrated on and sexually assaulted, what do you do with that? Got to have compassion and empathy for the kid. So it's just, it's a slippery slope. And, but families, we got to have these discussions with our children. And we have to have these discussions with our family members, so everyone is aware of the risks that are involved with our children. So I encourage families to have those discussions. This is not something you can be silent on as an adult, because family secrets hurt kids. Always have, always will. Because there's an adult in the family that knows something. I can almost promise you, I can almost guarantee you, there's an adult within that family that knew, and they just didn't say anything. So, all right, let's take a look at this final video, and then we'll finish up this live stream. I appreciate your attention, and hopefully you walk away with a better understanding of what you came with today. Okay, let's see what we got.
For a teacher to have sex with a...
Okay, that's the wrong one. Give me a second here. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see where we're at. Okay, let me remove that one. Okay, let me add this one. Okay, family. Let me see. Oh, no, that's not it. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Okay, parents. Here is the next video. Let me see.
Can't make a generalization, but the issues range from a fantasy on the part of the perpetrator of being younger, of reliving, sort of their teenage life, to something, I guess I would say more sinister, which is it's the power play.
Okay,
I have
let me
power.
stop this video. Let me try this again. It appears to be freezing, and I really want parents to see this video. So let me try this again, parents. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Let me try this one more time. Okay, let me try this one more time, parents. Let's see. Okay. Okay, let me see. Share screen. Technology, y'all. Technology is making me look bad. Okay, let me try this again. Give me 1 second, parents. I'm gonna get this figured out. Okay, that's what I wanted. Here we go.
You can't make a generalization, but the issues range from a fantasy on the part of the perpetrator of being younger, of reliving, sort of their teenage life, to something, I guess I would say more sinister, which is it's a power play. I have power and control over you because I am the authority figure, I am the teacher, and somebody who is perhaps insecure and will break the rules at all costs to be the powerful one, particularly if they've at times felt that they weren't, that they were even in an abused situation. Then it's a defense mechanism called identification with the aggressor. I'm going to perpetrate the abuse now. So that may be the scenario. Or it may be the preponderant urge of true pedophilia, which is, I want and feel the need to sexually be with essentially a child. I think that it's more surprising to society today, at least, still, that it is a female teacher. We tend to think of perpetrators as being the male, and more commonly, it is a male teacher. I think that while it's uncomfortable for us to imagine a woman being aggressive, being a perpetrator, being a pedophile, being a criminal, essentially, that is more uncomfortable than thinking of it as a male. That's why we react that way, but the reality is females are perpetrators at times. There's a lot of confusion about what does it mean if it's an older teenage boy and a younger female teacher, because historically, culturally, we had this double standard of, the male teenager wants to have sex and might even fantasize about his teachers, but that doesn't mean that he wants it or that in any way it would be good for him. Long-term damage, of which there will be some, really depends on the individual psyche of that child. Some people have more resilience, are more able to bounce back from something heinous. Some actually have less and are more likely to suffer issues with intimacy going forward, ability to trust, imbalance in power in relationships. They may therefore suffer from depression, from anxiety disorders, from post-traumatic stress disorder, but the majority will probably, be able to recoup. Obviously, therapy can make a huge difference.
Okay, parents, there is a third video that I wanted to share with you, parents, okay? Parents, give me a second. I want to see if I can find it. It's a third video, and I thought I had downloaded it. Let me check and see if I have it, parents, because if I do, I would like to share this third video with you, which is a very, very good video. Let me see here. I thought I had downloaded it. Chances are I didn't, but I thought I did, and it was just two attorneys that were talking about the disparity between how men are treated and how women are treated when it comes to being a perpetrator. And let me just see here. I don't think that I have it, but I'm going to try. Let's see. No, I don't think that I have it. Let me see. I do. Okay, parents, this is a video that I wanted to share. It's on the double standard of male versus female. And this is a good video. And what I'm going to do is, it appeared to be dragging. So what I'm going to do is I want to bring this up on regular YouTube here and stream it from YouTube instead of trying to use the video file. So just give me a second, parents. Let's see. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna, let me see if I could get this streamed here for you. Let's see here. Okay, I believe, is this the one? Let me see. Yes. Okay, parents, I want to share this one with you. This is a great video on the double standard. Okay, so let me get this posted. Give me a second. Okay, I'm almost there.
I think female teachers who have
Okay,
sex
parents,
with
here we go.
whatever gender students should be treated just as harshly as the male teachers. We always hear this hot for teacher thing. This is so damaging. I've represented a lot of sexual abuse survivors, male and female. And it's frankly even more damaging for the male victims sometimes because they're very confused. Their friends are high-fiving them at the time. Later in life, they realize, you know, I didn't consent. There was this power relationship. It's terrible.
Yeah, and if you look at the outcome data, you must know this, Jamie. The outcome data on the males is terrible. They end up with criminal behavior. They end up with drug addiction.
No relationships. I mean, horrible problems throughout their lives. I mean, I've talked to hundreds of them through Male Survivor, and many of them were victims of female teachers. Some of them were victims of males as well. But
well, in this case, in this community, a local criminal defense attorney talks about that double standard. Let's hear what he's got to say.
1000% female. There's a double standard in life. They are going to be looked at in a different way. I think men, in general, and also by race, frankly, are looked at differently than white females.
So a white female victimizer is going to have an easier time of it? Is that what he's saying? That's shocking to me.
That is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Well, that is what he's saying.
Welcome to Florida, everybody.
Yeah, right.
Where's Eiglarsh when I need him?
You know, what I think is that I disagree with Jim and Lisa. I think that a boy, it's for him, it's a badge of honor. He's going around.
No, Sarah, factually, it's not true.
Well,
Jim, give me
it's absolutely not true. I mean,
but what about
males who were
Mary
victims
Kay
of
Letourneau? And
did you
he's
see
married
what he
now,
said?
has
Did you,
kids.
wait, did you see what he said? He had a long history of depression and alcohol abuse as a result of what happened. He stuck with her, she stuck with him, but that doesn't mean he's happy about it.
No, his case is awful. His
Sarah,
situation
what are you
is awful.
saying? We should just let our teachers prey on the students as long as they're pretty white women?
No. I think it's a case-by-case basis. I think that there's absolutely the fact that a 25-year-old teacher, okay, you're just calling her a teacher. She's 25.
So what? She's still a teacher. She still has the same power over her students as a 50-year-old.
But you've got a 16-year-old. In this case, it's a lesbian relationship. You have a 16-year-old female with a 25-year-old female teacher, and they're having a 1-year relationship.
Okay,
she goes
Sarah,
over there multiple times.
let me propose a similar power imbalance, similar power construct to a relationship, and see how this one fits for you. 25-year-old resident and a 16-year-old high school student, a medical resident and a 16-year-old high school student. That's cool? The patient comes in, has a pelvic exam, and has sex right there in the room where the doctor's doing the exam. That's
cool? Probably less
Why?
cool.
Why is that not cool? Why is that?
They do it for a year.
Yeah, they go out forever. He loves her. He loves her. It's a year relationship after that.
Yeah.
Okay, parents, I just wanted to share that last video with you because as you could see, when you get attorneys involved in the legal system, it can go a whole different direction. But I just wanted you to see that, just to see the two different perspectives from attorneys. And, you know, race is a big part of it. Being a female is a big part of it. And it's just, for me, it's just interesting how when it comes to men and women, I mean, there's a double standard. You can say what you want, but there's a double standard. There is a double standard, and there's no getting away from the double standard. That's what it is. So, okay, parents, I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. And any questions, any comments, any concerns, feel free to leave them for me. I will answer them all. And if you need me to get in contact with you, I'll do that, okay? Once again, this is Ephraim B. Martin. I'm 58 years of age. I am a girl dad of 4 adult daughters, 29, 35, 29, 26, and 23. Thank you for attending Girl Dad YouTube channel. All right, fathers, handle your business this week. Keep your heads up. Keep me in your daily prayers as I will do the same. And God bless you all. All right, parents, thank you. Peace.